Today, I will be talking about Terence Roberts and his significance within the civil rights movement. But to better understand his accomplishments, we need to better understand the state of legislation at that time. In 1896, the Supreme Court issued the decision Plessy v. Ferguson, ruling that segregation was constitutional as long as the accommodations were separate but equal. This proposition gave constitutional sanction to laws designed to achieve racial segregation by means of separate and supposedly equal public facilities and services for African Americans and whites. This ruling was significant because it essentially facilitated the legalization of racial segregation. But more specifically, this doctrine of separate but equal strengthened the system of Jim Crow laws and became the standard within public accommodations and services throughout the United States, ensuring that Black citizens were forced to use inferior facilities for the foreseeable future throughout the South. Plessy v. Ferguson quickly became constituted within the very basis of our educational system. Public education's ability to remain segregated under the Plessy ruling meant that although all white and all Black schools sometimes had similar buildings, buses, and teachers, these institutions' main difference was often determined by quality. Schools serving students of color received significantly less funding than schools serving white students, and Black schools often faced overcrowding, inadequate supplies, and insufficiently paid teachers, whereas white schools were often underused. Such disparities resulted in gaps in the educational opportunities available to Black and white communities. As early as the 1930s, members of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or NAACP, were looking for strategies to desegregate schools through lawsuits targeting the legal doctrine of separate but equal. However, not until the Brown v. Board of Education decision in 1954 did the U.S. Supreme Court unanimously outlaw state-sanctioned school segregation, ruling it unconstitutional. The Supreme Court concluding that the separation of educational facilities on the basis of race was inherently unequal meant that efforts to integrate schools could finally commence. As a test of Brown v. Board of Education, Terence Roberts, along with 8 other African American students, enrolled in a formerly white institution entitled Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. However, once efforts to integrate schools began, campaigns directed by white community leaders and elected officials to resist and defy the Brown v. Board of Education ruling followed. And on their very first day of school, Governor Orville Eugene Faubus called upon the state's National Guard to block these 9 newly enrolled Black students from entering Little Rock Central High School. Terence Roberts, the eldest of 7 children, was born on December 3, 1941, in Little Rock, to William and Margaret Roberts. Roberts was a sophomore at Horace Mann High School when he volunteered to integrate Little Rock Central High for the 1957-1958 school year. Despite daily harassment from some white students, Roberts completed his junior year at Central. The following year, the city's high schools were closed to prevent further desegregation, and as a result, Roberts moved to Los Angeles, California, and graduated from Los Angeles High School in 1959. Following his graduation from high school, Roberts attended California State University at Los Angeles and earned a BA in sociology in 1967. He attended graduate school at the University of California at Los Angeles and received an MS in social welfare in 1970. In 1976, Roberts earned a PhD in psychology from Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. In addition to serving as CEO of Terence J. Roberts and Associates management consulting firm, he maintains a private psychology practice and is a desegregation consultant to the Little Rock School District. On May 17, 1979, Roberts was able to meet Orville Faubus face-to-face on ABC's Good Morning America. He said, "I really feel it was a violation of public trust to practice your own personal policies of racism in that position. You endangered not only my life, but the lives of hundreds of other people, both Black and white." Roberts was awarded the prestigious Spingarn Medal by the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People in 1958, and in 1999, President Bill Clinton presented the nation's highest civilian award, the Congressional Gold Medal, to the members of the Little Rock Nine. In 2009, Dr. Roberts published a memoir, Lessons from Little Rock. The following year, he published Simple Not Easy, Reflections on Community Social Responsibility and Tolerance. All in all, Terence Roberts is a trailblazing figure within the fight for racial equality within the United States and continues to teach, write about, and consult with a variety of groups, institutions, businesses, and professional organizations on issues related to race and racism in American society. It is his belief that complete resolution of these issues can only happen when we collectively decide to rid ourselves of the pernicious ideology of racism. And in a lecture presented by the Parents Association Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee at Marlborough, which I attended in March of 2022, he recommended three incredibly informative books in order to take initiative to become an anti-racist, overcome ignorance, and choose to create change. The three being Democracy in Chains by Nancy McLean, The Color of Law by Richard Rothstein, and The Sum of Us by Heather McGhee. Thank you so much for listening.